All right.
We're here with Jeremy Montanez. You may remember the video that I produced about Jeremy Montanez, about some of his family members, people saying that he did not vote for Trump, and he was on the CNN panel recently as the disgruntled, regretful Trump voter. And so he is on today to tell his side of the story. Jeremy, thank you for taking the time today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
No worries, no worries. Thanks for coming on. Now, I guess let's just get right into this. How did CNN find you? How did they contact you? How did that process work?
What happened was that they had seen a post or something that I had posted on my Facebook. So they actually contacted me through a Facebook message, and then they told me to call them. They said that they're looking for former Trump supporters, and they saw something about me supporting him in the past. I have no idea what they saw. And then I called the producer for the New Day show, and he interviewed me, kind of vetted me out. And the next day he called me that morning saying, "You're going to New York." So they flew me out there, and that's just how it came about. It was crazy. I was very surprised.
Got it. Cool. Yeah, I mean, there were some people that, as you probably already know, there are some people that have contacted me right when that whole interview came out. I'm sure you got all sorts of stuff from all sides after that whole CNN panel came out, because it's on national news, national TV, and then they posted the video and it said Trump supporter calls Trump a monster, or whatever the case may be. But yeah. Someone else told me that you may have had acting classes in the past. Is that true?
I went to community college, and my theatrical arts class was an elective that I did. It wasn't my major. I never graduated with theatrical arts. I've never been a professional actor. It was just something that I did at the time because, it's college. It was more like an extracurricular activity. And then my own profession is that I'm in the security industry.
Right. And I think when people say actor or plant or whatever the case may be, it really just means, to me, it just means, when I say plant, and then I give the audience, I say, hey, what do you think? Do you think he was or he wasn't? When I say that, I just mean CNN was trying to find the perfect person that to have on their show to kind of cause like a disruption amongst the panel participants. And so that's basically what that means. Now, what kind of spawned this whole thing and had me, the reason why I made the video in the first place was because two people who said that they were family members of yours said that there was absolutely no way that you voted for Donald Trump because you're a socialist. You have expressed disdain for Trump during the election, leading up to the election, and things like that. One was an acquaintance, I think, and the other was a family member. And then a third family member actually contacted me even after the video came out. So I just want to get your side of the story, as we said, as we emailed back and forth. Absolutely. And get what do you have to say to that?
What happened was that I was a Bernie Trump supporter, and after Hillary rigged the election.
You mean Bernie Sanders supporter?
Yes. What did I say? Bernie Trump?
You did say Bernie Trump.
I was a Bernie Sanders supporter. I don't deny my democratic socialist views. And after he, lost that primary election, I blamed that on the DNC, and I blamed that on Hillary Clinton. I was very disgruntled, and I knew that I wouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton. That was just a given. I couldn't do it. I didn't like her. I still don't like her. I do not regret not voting for her. And when I started looking at different candidates, I used to hate Trump. So like when Bernie was still campaigning, I didn't like him, and I made videos that I didn't like him and whatnot. But then I thought about it, and I'm a researcher. Like, I research people and stuff like that. I don't just listen to what somebody's saying. And I started watching his interviews, and I started listening to what he had to say. And even though I think what he has to say most of the time is foul, like the way he expresses himself, the interviews that I saw struck me, because there were certain things that he said that made me think, like, okay, maybe I should give this guy a chance. He's not a politician. He's saying he wants to, end Obamacare, but yet get better health care to everybody. And, in the past, I did read that he wanted universal health care when he was a Democrat, I guess. But I thoroughly researched him. And that was about 2 months before the election. And I lived with my family members. My mother's a staunch Trump supporter, and we would just talk. And, she just convinced me to just give him a chance, because I believe in giving people chances. And I supported him thoroughly. I worked for the Riverside County Republican Party. I was knocking on doors. Everybody was slamming it in my face because it was for Trump. And then I get my ballots sent to me So I voted for him, and I was really excited. I was posting all over Facebook, I voted, and this is going to be, a great election. And when he won, I don't know if you saw it, but I have proof that I voted for him, and I have proof of the things that I said, attacking the Democrats because they were attacking me that I voted for him. Kind of like what Trump supporters are doing to me now, they were doing to me then. And I supported him for a good 2 years without any remorse. I mean, yeah, I would call him out if I thought he was wrong, but I do that with all presidents. I don't blindly follow a president.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Now, how do you explain? I just have a simple question. You sound sincere, but there have been, as I said, family members of yours email me, email other people with us, and have emailed us pictures, posts from your Facebook page. I'm a proud socialist, not just a democratic socialist, but a full-on socialist.
Yeah.
They've sent me videos where after a shooting had happened, and this was right after the election, right in 2016, just a few months after the election, and you basically said within this video, and I'm paraphrasing here,
No, go ahead.
what do you expect from the majority of the country that elected Trump as president? And this was about the whole gun thing after the shooting happened. And that would include you if you truly did vote for Trump. And so how do you explain all of this stuff coming from family members and acquaintances?
If I knew who these people were, because I do have family members that are enemies. I have an ex-best friend who is constantly harassing me. I think that he sent me death threats. So, I mean, from what you're telling me, I think it's him. I don't really think it's my blood family members, because even though I don't speak to them, they're just not the kind of people that would go out of the way to do something like this. But this ex-friend is. And I just pity him if that's what he's doing. But
when you were naming people, when you sent me an email and you said, is it this people, these people, you got one of them right. There was another one. There was two more people. So
may I ask you a question?
I can't tell you who it is. I'll never reveal people. I cannot reveal people who are anonymous. I just can't do that.
Well, I believe it starts with a D.
Okay, well, there's a lot of things in this world that start with the D, or a lot of names that start with the D in this world. But there, like I said, there's three people, and the video just that's the thing that got me, right? That video 2 months after the election, and you're like, what do you expect from the majority of America who elected Trump as president, basically bashing those people? But that would include you if you truly did elect. So how do you explain the video?
Well, I was upset because I am for strong gun control. And at that time, Trump doesn't rush to make statements, and he doesn't, like with John McCain, I know he didn't like him, and he didn't, he doesn't rush to do things like other presidents have. And I was still getting used to him being president. And that was just an anger phrase that came out when I did that. I was including myself, and I knew I may have not said myself, but I was, yes. And even with Barack Obama, when he was president, I would criticize him nonstop and make videos about him, things that he was doing that I didn't like. And then when Trump met with the shooters, or he made his statements and stuff, I was just like, okay, And I was so thrilled when he met, for example, with the Charlottesville shooting. I thought that was awesome that he met with the students. I don't think anything came of it. I think I think in the end it might have been a Photoshop. But, he did it. And, people like David Hogg, for example, he's been, the way I'm being treated right now is the way he's treated. However, he's very disrespectful. I would never, if I met Donald Trump, I wouldn't hang up the phone, or I wouldn't, spit in his face. Like I said, I don't hate him in that way. And I'm very defensive of his family, not his sons, but his daughter, his wife, his younger son. I have a lot of people coming up to me, talking trash about them. And I don't have that, because I'm like, she's not that. She's not him.
So would you say it's true that that you were not really a Trump supporter, but you basically voted for him out of a revenge vote against Hillary Clinton? And would you say that it's also true that CNN saw that you might cause a little bit of tension within the panel attendees, and that's why they invited you on?
No, I did support Trump, and I wish my brother was here, because I actually invited him to come on with me, to have somebody that that could speak to you as well, to kind of prove it. And he's not, unfortunately. No, but I did support him big time. Like I said, I worked on his campaign. I worked with the Republican Party. And as far as the anti-Hillary vote, I would say it might have been both, actually. because I did support it, but at the same time, yeah, I mean, it was kind of like a kick in the face to not only Hillary but the DNC in itself, because I was very angry with that whole party. I was very angry with the convention as a whole and what they did. But I really did want to give Donald Trump a chance. I really wanted to see what he could do, because he's not a politician, and when he spoke. Yes, he's rich and everything, but so is Mitt Romney. When Mitt Romney spoke to us, he sounded like a robot. He had no feeling. But when Trump spoke to us, I felt like here's a rich man that's not a politician that's talking to the people. Like he had, even though it was foul, he still had a way to talk to the people like a regular person, if that makes any sense.
Right. Well, I think that I disavow anyone who sends anyone death threats. That's more of a thing like on the left. And if people who are truly Trump supporters are doing that to you, then they're acting just like leftists, because that's what the majority of people on the left do, sending people death threats and things like that. So I completely disavow that if that's happening. You said you got only really one death threat, though. Is that true?
Like, on YouTube, I had a lot of comments on the CNN that had death threats there, but I reported them or YouTube removed them. But there was one that I did get in my Univision interview that morning, was a death threat personalized to me. I made a police report about it. They have it filed. They didn't do much. They told me not to worry just because of, it wasn't that big of a deal. But I just did it for my own safety, just so it's recorded.
Right. It's the internet. So
yeah.
It's banter. It's bants.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you think? Now, you call yourself a socialist. What do you think a socialist is? I mean, first of all, your post that people had sent me said socialist. Are you a democratic socialist, or are you an actual socialist? And do you know the difference? Do you know the difference?
Yes.
Okay, what's the difference?
Well, for me, the democratic socialist is somebody that involves socialism but remains with capitalism. It's mixed, as opposed to socialism in itself is just completely socialist. There's no mixture of free enterprise or anything like that. Everything is controlled by the state. Everything is controlled basically, for what I've read, by the people. But that doesn't necessarily happen.
No, that's communist. Well, the goal of socialism is communism, right? And then they say that the people seize the means of production after the state does. Never seems to work out, obviously. But state. Go ahead.
I'm just going to explain my view so people know this. When I say I'm a democratic socialist, I'm not for like my country being invaded by the immigrants or anything like that. I just want my country to help its people, the ones that are unfortunate, kind of like me. I am not for illegal immigration. I think that if they come here illegally, they need to be sent back, but do not separate them. Do not put them in cages. Obama too, he did that too, and that was monstrous of him. And I think that the U.S. should still have English as its first language. I speak fluent Spanish. I'm Mexican. I lived in Mexico for years. I think that we should have the universal health care, universal community college education, that kind of thing. I think that we should mix capitalism with it. I'm not a staunch communist, like that. If you've seen stuff that calls me a socialist, I'm talking about my view of what I think socialism should be, I guess you can say.
Well, there's a difference between heavy social safety nets and actual socialism. So what Bernie Sanders tries to portray himself as, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the like, who want to abolish ICE and all these different things, they tried to portray themselves as pro-heavy social safety nets.
Right.
But while, democratic socialists, that's what they call them. But the problem is that Bernie Sanders himself, you say that you investigate and you research, Bernie Sanders honeymooned in Soviet Russia after his first marriage. He hung a Soviet flag in his mayoral office in Burlington, Vermont. The guy's a literal communist. He's met with communists. He was in an Israeli kibbutz run by Aaron Cohen, who was arrested for spying for Russia in the 60s. So this is the problem that I have with a lot of democratic socialists, is that this is just kind of like a front to me of what their real goal is, which is having the state seize control of everything. And we all know what happens when the state gets involved. They can't even run the DMV properly, let alone run your healthcare and everything else properly. And the other problem I have with them is that they don't actually think this through. They don't think all the way into the future. You have an estimated population of about 475 million, just a couple decades away here in this country, and most of which are going to be coming from Mexico. And when you look at the actual statistics, most households that are run by Hispanic immigrants are 70% on welfare. So we're going to be a population made up of majorly welfare leeches while also getting free healthcare and free college. 100 million more people. It doesn't. That's the path that we don't want to go on. We want to have the least government possible. So that's my personal opinion on the whole socialism topic. But I don't want to get too much caught up in that. But go ahead, say what you want to say.
I'm highly against illegal immigration also because I do not like the fact that they get benefits. They don't need to get our health care, our services, our education. For example, I moved from San Bernardino County to Los Angeles, and it took me, I'm on Medi-Cal, but it took me 6 months just to get it transferred from here to here. And I was in line one day at the Social Security office or the Medi-Cal office, and literally there was a guy in front of me that he was speaking Spanish, but I heard what they were saying. And he got his card, he got everything right there at the moment. And I'm waiting 7 months. And I went off on the person, the worker. I said, I need to see a doctor. I'm an American citizen. You get this guy, and the security was looking at me and stuff like that. And, for me, like, I just want the basic.
Well, plus you have the WIC, too. You know what the WIC is, right? The Women, Infants, Children. It's basically like a food stamps program out here in California. Oh. And some people... I knew an employee once, and she said that there's customers that come into the store that just crossed the border 2 days ago.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean? So it's a huge problem. It's a major problem. The biggest thing on your panel, I want to kind of corral this back into the main topic, the substance here. The biggest thing, the thing that stood out on CNN, the thing they wrote the article about and the video about, and it was mostly just about you. And what you said was, Donald Trump is a monster, and you basically related it solely to the policy of separation at the border and how these kids are sleeping, overpopulated facilities. I mean, they can't all have beds, things like that.
Right.
Why are you against that in particular?
It's inhumane. You don't rip kids from their parents and put them in cages and all that. You just deport them. There's no reason for what they're doing.
Well, here's the reason. The reason is, if you pay attention to anything that Bob Goodlatte says, for immigrants coming from Mexico, we can deport them back to their country. Okay. But the way that the law is set up is immigrants coming from Guatemala and Honduras who are claiming asylum, we cannot just directly deport them back to their country. They actually have to be processed through the courts. Okay. Now, while they're in holding cells with other adults, right, and possibly men who are probably weirdos, there could be, you never know. Right. It's probably not a good decision to have the children with them. Now, here's the thing. This whole surge came, and it happened in 2014, too, under Barack Obama, where this huge surge came during that year. And it came during 2017, too, this big surge of asylum seekers coming from those two major countries that we can't just directly deport under our law here. And so that's the whole thing. A lot of people don't understand this, and the media likes to play on emotions and tug on heartstrings like yours. I'm sure you're kind of like this emotional type of a guy, but I just ask that people actually look into that a little bit more.
Let me say something about the monster thing, because I didn't know right now what you told me. I didn't really know, and you're right, I didn't. And yes, it has played on my emotions. Do I think he's literally a monster? Like, now, do I think that? No. And I wish I wouldn't have said it because it was too harsh. Even though he does a lot of things that I disagree with, he's still a human being. He still has a family. He still has parents. He still has kids. And I would never wish anything bad upon him. Like I said, that guy that I'm telling you about, the one that I think was writing you when I said D, he always used to say, like, he wished Barack Obama would get shot and all this stuff. And I would just sit there. I never would say anything. And I think that's terrible. I think President Trump, he has a chance to do something great, and it's not too late, but it will be too late eventually because, if it just keeps going down, and I disapprove of, the way he acts about John McCain and just all of it. So, but I don't hate him to that level. Like I said, my advocacy is not to fight with him or fight with his supporters. My advocacy is to be a voice.
Do you think that John McCain should be revered?
Should be what now?
You think John McCain should be kind of revered as like this hero?
I think that John McCain, yes. I think that.
Why?
Well, for me, he's somebody that I always looked up to since I was a kid. Not necessarily just because he got captured, but he kind of reminds me of one of my other two idols, which is Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone, because it seems like coming from the war up until now, or up until his death, he really accomplished a lot in life. He lived that American dream, and he worked really hard for what he had. And for me, for people that can do that and just accomplish everything that they set their mind to and they set their heart out to, I idolize them. Even Donald Trump. I mean, that is one thing that I do like about him is that, people say, well, he was born into the money. And I say, yeah, but he kept going. It's not like he just took money and wasted it on nothing, kind of like Mitt Romney. I mean, what is he doing? But Trump, he continues to work. He continues to do his real estate investing and whatnot. And I think that's a very positive thing. So with John McCain, I just looked up to him. And I think that he, I supported him in 2008. I didn't vote for him, though, because he bailed the bank out. That bothered me. So
well, there's a lot of things that he's done that I don't think that you're actually aware of. He was one of the architects behind the regime change in Libya to taking out Gaddafi, and then he wanted to take out Assad. Well, after we took out Gaddafi, a sovereign country, which we have no business in Libya, now there's an open market slave trade where Arab Muslims are castrating blacks and selling them on the slave market. He's also responsible for wet starting his plane, catching fire to a ship, possibly killing some people. Some say it's a myth. Some say it really happened. Some survivors there. He's also responsible in our government legally in wars for killing thousands of people. So this is the problem that I have with neocons. I'm absolutely 100% against neocons, people that make these huge regime changes and things like that. And Trump's prone to do something like that. Because of his past and because of connections that he's had. But so far, he hasn't done any regime changes, which is number one in my book. No interventionism, focus on America, and which he has done. Things like Bernie has said in his speeches, I want to change NAFTA, I want to repeal TPP, I want to do this, I want to do that for all of these trade policies. Well, Trump's already done that. TPP's gone. NAFTA is coming next week. You know what I mean? He's already done that. He's having like a diplomatic approach to North Korea, where an unprecedented meeting between Kim Jong-un and the South Koreans, the North Koreans and South Koreans.
I was very
He's doing a lot of stuff. He's doing a lot of stuff for economically, and then immigration. If only we can get control of the Senate and get an actual bill passed, like the Goodlatte bill. So he's done a lot. He's done a lot more than a lot of other presidents. Meanwhile, you have Barack Obama on the other hand, who couldn't even get his very first campaign promise accomplished, which was to close Gitmo. That was his very first campaign promise. So what attracts you to Barack Obama, or are you just maybe just a little bit? You always voted Democrat in the past, or
no? I voted for Republicans too. I voted for John Cox for California governor in the primaries. I will not vote for him in the general election. I voted for, of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I campaigned for him twice. I voted for Meg Whitman. When it comes to presidential, Trump is the only Republican I ever voted for. And for Barack Obama, he was just diplomatic. He wasn't insulting. He wanted to give us health care. Like for you said, like the non-intervention is your main deal. Mine is health care, because I've suffered at the mercy of this country's health care my whole life, except for when I lived in Mexico.
Well, how'd that work out for you?
What?
The ACA.
Excellent. If he didn't pass that, I would not have health care right now.
Well, but you're in California, so we have Medi-Cal.
Right.
So we've always had Medi-Cal, though.
Oh, yeah, that's true, I suppose.
Yeah, so you could have just got Medi-Cal, right?
Well, that's the thing about California, too, is like it's kind of, like whatever it's going to do as far, like I have trust that California isn't going to end up itself being a universal healthcare state. And if that happens, then I'm not going to worry about that no more, because I have no plans on going anywhere else. Maybe Oregon, but I don't know. Or Washington State. But, you're right. Trump has done very good with the economy, and I've always admitted that. Maybe not on camera, but I do say that. There are good things he did when he talked to Kim Jong-un. Like I said in CNN, I was so proud of that. It made me really proud to be an American. And at that time, I still supported him, by the way. As far as his, do I think that Russia helped him get elected? I don't know. I'm not the kind of person that convicts somebody without a proper trial. Until that comes out that he had some kind of collusion, I'm not going to say he's guilty of anything. But I said it might have happened, like in CNN. I said, and if it did, then they'll get them, you know. But we need to stop dwelling on all this stuff and focus on the country, focus on the social issues, focus on the immigration. You know, they said make America great again, and let's do it. But there's so much division and there's so much hatred towards this president that it's almost impossible.
Right, it's hard. They won't even talk. The media won't even talk about any of the good thing. Like I'm sure they'll downplay this whole NAFTA thing, just like they downplayed TPP. My number one thing isn't non-interventionism. That's my number two thing. My number one thing is the demographic future of this country and immigration. That's the whole reason why I think the majority of America voted for Trump, is because they slowly see their country turning into this press one for English country. You know, they slowly see you import the third world, you become the third world. It's inevitable at this point. So I think that's one of the major reasons. But go ahead.
I do think that, now don't get offended because I don't think you are, but I do think he's a racist. That is one of my major issues too. I think that he did not help Puerto Rico as much as he should and could have, because it's a brown skinned country or Commonwealth. Even though it's owned by the USA. I look at the comparisons between what he did for Texas, what he did for Puerto Rico, and the things he said about Puerto Rico. You know, I don't care what the mayor did. If she did something illegal, I'm talking about the Puerto Rican people. I do not care about her, because people try to throw at me, well, the Puerto Rico mayor said, I don't care about her. I'm not talking about her. I'm talking about the island as a whole. The thing about banning Muslims, and but you know what's funny is that I am against the ban of Muslims. However, I've noticed since the ban we have not had one Muslim attack.
Well, I mean, those 6 countries were outlined by Barack Obama. I mean,
Right,
there was a BBC journalist, Rahim Rahapur, who was barred for re-entering. She was from Iran. She was from Iran, and she was barred from re-entering to see her son's cousin's her nephew's birthday or something like that under the Barack Obama ban too. That's all. I think that national security concerns, especially from countries that are hotbeds for things like that, I think that I would completely be for that, and I think you probably would be too, right?
Yes, you know, and I think, like I said, you know, since the ban, I haven't seen any like Muslims attacking us or something. But the school shootings are incomprehensible, and I really wish Trump would do something about that. I wish he would just swallow his pride, forget, you know, what the Republicans think about him, and throw some kind of gun control in there, because it's just, I've never seen anything like this. And I've had people that have, you know, I know people that have kids, my own nephews, you know, told me, I'm afraid to go to school, Theo, you know, and I'm like, why? And they said, because I might die. And that broke my heart. I was like, oh my God, you know, you shouldn't.
Well, you gotta take the emotion out of it and just look at the actual occasion. The problem is that the media, that's always covered in the media, right? Like, let's say that every single rape or every single stabbing or every single murder got the same media coverage as school shootings did. Then you would think that everyone's just getting murdered around you. The reality is, though, is that school shootings are more rare than the rarest form of cancer. Shootings in general, only 11,000 intentional deaths by gun each year. That's less than the flu. 30,000 people die from the flu each year. You have to put things in perspective. But anyway, I just want to wrap this up. Thanks for coming on, man. Go ahead.
Oh, I just want the Republicans and the Democrats to come together and work together, because we all need to work together. We need to stop all this division, and somehow, like me and you right now, we are having a civil discussion. We are at opposite ends, but it could happen. It could happen. People can have civil discussions and talk about ideas, and, you know, really, really help our country. And that's
for sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I just don't see that happening. I mean, I don't think that the Democrats have voted for any bill that the Republican Congress has passed yet. Not even one vote. They didn't even vote. They didn't even pass the non-binding resolution to support Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. The 234, I think, voted that they no vote or something like that. So it's just a bunch of babies, and both sides. There's a bunch of babies for sure. But thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate you giving your side of the story, and we'll have to let the viewers decide on if CNN picked him because they knew he would bring this sort of like tension to the panel attendees, or do you think that this guy they had no idea and they was just a random pick here?
There was a random pick, according to me.
Well, I know you would say that. So let's let the viewers decide. Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate you taking the time.